Welcome to this introductory guide to President Infinity version 3.1.1. Just to note, this version is not the official 3.3.6 current release available on 270campaigns.270soft.com, but this is the version that most of those who have the game that are dealing with editors will be dealing with. Boomer, shut up. Sorry, my dog. Anyways, this is the game's initial screen. You have the settings here, options here, where you can change each of these settings during the gameplay. There is also the help key, which will take you to the help page at 270soft.com. Now, you have a random, you have your quotes here. Most of these are by famous people. Don't know the specific amount, but definitely will see interesting. Every time you load it up, it'll be a different one. The version here is on the upper right corner, President Infinity version 3.3.1.1. With the background, the Statue of Liberty in a blue rust color, and the game in their serif font. Now below you have your normal buttons. You got your new game key, which will take you to the list of campaigns. The default campaign start is the 2020 scenario, last updated back in September 2020 regarding candidates and issues and all that jazz. The new scenario has the COVID. The new scenario, of course, has the COVID issue. This scenario does not. The default start date for the 2020 scenario is, of course, December 3rd, 2019, when most of the candidates were actually declared. Now, you have your load game. So basically, if you have any game that you've saved into game, you can save them, and then you can load them here with your pads to the open up a folder to tell you where the game is. These are only, remember, don't forget, it is also unwise to load up a new properly saved 3.3.1 or vice versa. They are non-exchangeable. Well, at least 3.3.1 can't load up anything from future. However, if you attempt to load up a full release Chosen Infinity version of the game, they will make a copy of the scenario you're loading as a backup just in case. And that's the initial music. Now here you go. So this basically gives you primaries. Oh, sorry. This here is the high score. All the historical presidents will be here from Washington all the way down to literally Donald Trump's 2016. Every time you win an election with a candidate, or at least actually kick a candidate during a game, it will be loaded here, and there will be specific. We'll get into this some other time. The campaign editor is something. Now this is the campaign editor. You can select to save. I apparently have a lot of things I do, and this will basically allow you to edit any save, but we'll get into that in a totally different series. I promise. Apparently people like to know how to play this game, so that's what I'm going to try and do. Now, this is the default campaign. Like I said earlier, you've got your campaign you can change. You got the credits, which will show up in the editor. Options include spies, in fog of war, and voter detail. Higher detail means, well, basically how fast the game competes their statistics. You've got your campaign difficulty for a computer, which you could just change with a click. A simulation, well, simulations are something I'll get into in a later video. But basically it allows you to sim a lucky based on the stats and candidates you chose. And you won't be playing a game, but be just watching simulation results. Of course, this will allow you to choose whether or not you start in primaries. This gives you between parties. This goes between rows of four candidates. This basically is the human declared off. Basically, if you want to play, you select human. You can also, by happen chance, play as more than one person in a select game. Oh, you can even play anyone on all parties that are updated in this game. this game, this scenario, unlike basically every other one in this version of President Infinity, comes with a campaign observer. So we will be starting as Joe Biden, starting on the December 3rd, 2019 primary start date. Well, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to start the campaign as the Democratic Party with the Libertarians on. You can, now this screen basically allows you to change just like it says later in point information. Here you can choose all of the leaders that are in here. You can, if you edit this scenario, you can add your leader, you can add different party members. Say for instance, you want, I don't know, uh, the governor of Oklahoma. I forget her name. The former governor of Oklahoma to be in this scenario. Well, you can add her and change your stats, but it'll be a different scenario, I promise. The same thing with the vice presidents. Some leaders have limited VP options, which can also be changed. So for Trump, you can only change between Pence and Nikki Haley, but you can also use the view stats here. As you can see, she's got more integrity, issue familiarity, but less charisma, stamina, debating, and leadership, but same experience. She also comes with like less funds, but she does. But the VP does come with a regional bonus. In this case, it comes with South Carolina +5. With Pence, you've got Indiana +5. And, with these two, of course, with these two states, of course, neither of the VPs are going to be important because both states are basically safe states. This will skip you directly to the game's opening menu. Now here you have Joe Biden with his stats. And I guess I'll be going with his IRL pick, Kamala Harris. He's got less experience and familiarity, but more debating, stamina, and charisma. Well, less stamina and less charisma. Of course, there's no description for Harris because, of course, she, of course, gives California +5. But really, I just went with the IRL options. And I was skipping these because I will not be deciding who the hell is running for Libertarians. So basically, at the beginning, I actually skipped that. Basically, at the beginning, you have the option of taking a block grant, which of course the funds can be edited. Now, block grant basically means that the party gives you the funds, and you only have those funds. You cannot with block grants you cannot fundraise at all during the campaign. As you can see, the block grant gave us $150,000. Of course, I'm actually playing this game. I'm just showing you guys the UI. Anyways, so let's go with the UI. So you click a state. It'll show you the name, how many electoral votes, aka the reps, and who's winning it. These colors represent different leans. Say if it's greater than 20%, likely is between 14 and 11%. Lean is between 11 and 1%, and anything less, and any between less than 1% difference is a toss-up, aka what? It's the Democrat safe and lanes are slightly more nuanced than the Republican ones, as you can see, Idaho and Montana. Or better yet, West Virginia is the darkest color out of all these, which is more than 20% voting for Trump. So is Montana. Well, not Montana, Wyoming, but Arkansas actually isn't as safe as it normally would be. Georgia's lean, Tennessee's lean, Pennsylvania's likely, and North Carolina is toss-up. Now, if you click over, now if you can see here, you can see here that if you choose to go back, you can see here that your initial view with the chart would be percentages. Now, percentages change once every 7 days, every 7 turns, i.e. a week, which of course can be changed here. Now, if you either click and select or use your mouse wheel, you can go see the seats, aka the electoral votes. Currently, Biden has 342, Trump has 181, and undecided North Carolina has 15. The popular vote, of course, and of course, all of these will change as you hover over each of these regions. Now, the popular vote also is also really with the electoral college popular vote doesn't really matter, but it's interesting to see how the popular vote affects each state, like Kansas versus Nebraska, California versus Texas, etc. Momentum is a whole kettle of fish. We will not be covering momentum today, but I will make an issue on it. I will make a video on it. Now, now the graph, of course, this gives you a cover of it because it gives you the larger version of the graph. Of course, nothing here because nothing will be seen here since we haven't even got a turn yet. This basically shows you the swing from the last election, which will be changeable in the campaign when we're stopped. As you can see, Republicans are losing 72 and Democrats are gaining 57. See, unlike say 2016, where Republicans actually held Wisconsin, this is a falsehood. Democrats are not gaining Wisconsin. Well, Republicans are getting Wisconsin, they want it. So obviously the swing is inaccurate for this version of President Kennedy. Democrats are getting no states, and apparently two close to close states are North Carolina. Now, the ones on the bottom can be a bit daunting at first, but they're basically easy to understand. So strategy. The strategy screen basically tells you everything you know. You've got your list of you basically each uses a region. You could see that the default view is closest percent. You could of course order this by alphabetical by Alaska to Wyoming in that order. The default order of course is percentages. The closest percent, so you could see that Iowa, Texas, and Michigan are leaning towards Wisconsin and Ohio voting away. North Carolina's toss up. You can also use by not ahead, by ahead, furthest, closest, etc. Basically, you could say, this orders the states by electoral votes, and without the electoral college, this would basically order the states by population or the region. Now you have this is polling. It basically tells basically when you select polling per region, you'll be able to see exactly what you're polling. This shows you regions of targeted, where your momentum is, your highest, your lowest, your organization strength, chain is told at a base of one in every state, foot shoulder levels, platform distance, how close you are to the region's platform. Currently, we're closest to Delaware and furthest away from Mississippi, surprisingly enough. As you can see, we're no further than 30-something percent, 33% from any platform. And when you enable ads, this will tell you the ad power. At the bottom, you can see your targeted, your command points, aka how many command points you get per hour. At the bottom, because you could see here that I actually managed to choose the Libertarian Jeffy as a player. Whoops. Anyways, basically this allows you to switch between your players if you so choose. Now, activities basically give you the option to switch between your president and vice president. You can move, say, from Wisconsin, say, from Delaware to Iowa. Now, in Iowa, in a region, there are options to barnstorm, which basically costs one command point, and I believe 5 energy points, where you choose your pro or your against your focus, basically the issue, basically healthcare. Basically, these issues will give you each positive number basically tells you how much your platform agrees with you, which will give you a higher bonus when doing barnstorms and rallies. Negatives, of course, are the same thing. Issue familiarity is a negative 0.5 due to his low issue familiarity score. Of course, you can also delete this. You can give policy speeches. Once you use a policy speech, you cannot use the same topic again until an event refreshes it. I'll say it again. Once you use a policy speech on the issue of free trade, you cannot report on free trade again unless an event has increased it. Issue knowledge basically gives you an increased bonus to how well you know the issues, increase these. Debate prep debate prep is basically how you prepare for the debates during the primary and general elections. A higher debate score means you're the more likely you're able to win the debate. You can either choose to boost yourself or attack somebody else. You can only do 3 of these a day. I should mention you're only limited to 3 of any of these events a day. 3 barnstorms, apologies, speeches, fundraisers, and rallies. Now the difference between rallies and brainstorms is that rallies cost twice as much as twice as many command points and cost about twice as many energy points next turn. Of course, you can return activities. We already covered that. Strategy covered that. Ads. Basically, you use ads. Again, you choose your focus. Say Biden. You want to use the issue +1. Sometimes when you campaign, when you campaign, the issue will when you come on from a rally, you'll get an insight. You can use those insights to increase the point for ads. Of course, clicking will give you the power of that. +1 for ad type, +1 for successful, plus for charisma, theme, attack, localization, and issue. You can change the production budget. More production budget means more things to create, but more power. You can change the type television, radio, newspaper, and webs. Of course, you can cancel the ad at any time. You can change the issue at any time, and you can change the targeting at any time. Of course, you can choose the player. Also, you can also see exactly where ads if you've created them, where they're currently running. Now, surrogates basically basically cause CP per turn. Two basically costs 2 CP for 5 turns. 2 CP over 5 turns, which is basically 10 CP. Each of these endorsers have specific strings to their barnstorming, to their debate, to the barnstorming, their spin, and their fundraising. Of course, that's always the same. Next, we've got research. You can research your scandals, and you can research insights or scandals, which will tell us CP over the course of the campaign. With endorsers, basically each region plus the nation itself also has endorsers. You can see here that these endorsers change depending on your region. The United States themselves, all the United States are not the same. In order to get endorsed, your candidate needs to have greater than 100 score. And during the course of the campaign, after the endorsers, of course, have been unlocked, not all endorsers are open for campaigns. Say some endorsers like I believe all these endorsers are available because it's after the due to its time due to its the general campaign. Of course, pips basically increase your score. Would say I want to increase my score with injustice. 1 pip goes 5 points. 1 CP would increase basically pure would basically increase 1 CP would basically increase. Of course, you can see 1 PC basically increase based on your current AP-CP ratio. Spin's important. Use spin to basically change how the public perceives newspapers. Player info you can see here. Your info, your platform, relations with other characters, the offers you can offer people, plus the high score at the end. And you can see how this changes the high score finally. Of course, there's momentum by issue. Momentum is important. The more momentum you have, the more basically momentum basically gives you more momentum means more changing how voters vote, which means more support for your candidate. Finally, we've got theme. You can change your theme. These progress increase across the campaign, and theme bonus basically means you get bonuses for ads and join the campaign for across the theme. And of course, notes basically tell you what happened during every turn, like so. You can also these are newspapers, by the way, but you can use a spin to increase the successful chance. You can use a spin. You can also neutralize. And that's the news. Of course, I will not be going to the campaign, but this was simply giving you an overview of the President Infinity 3.3.1 UI. This does not change much at all from 3.3.6 current version out. However, a separate video will be going over that version's UI and the change is made. Thank you guys for watching.